Do you lose yourself in other people? Do you swear that you're going to say no and then find yourself completely agreeing with the person that you were determined to say no to? Well, these are signs that you're a people pleaser. And my name's Natalie Baker. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and neurofeedback trainer. And I want you to rest assured you can get over this habit. And yes, it is a habit. So let's talk about for a moment the signs of being a people pleaser. Then we're going to talk a little bit about simple things you can do to help change that behavior. And then we're going to talk about neurofeedback and how that might play a role. So people pleasing, if you're a people pleaser, you were trained at a young age to feel first and then think secondarily that being in alignment with the other person and seeing them and knowing what they want and need and being responsive to that was going to be the thing that was going to give you validation and value as a person. And so often in our early relationships with our parents is where we learn to be a people pleaser. It could be we have a narcissistic parent and they're focused on themselves and they want everybody around them to focus on them, resonate with their feelings, right? And put them first, right? So that's the training, is that child is taught, put other first. And not only put other first, but if you put yourself first, then now you're in danger. Now you're at risk. And so that pairing of putting yourself first with now there's a problem or you're in danger makes it so that it's very hard to change this behavior. And again, this is early training. It's a habitual pattern and it sets up in our behavior. So the choices that we automatically make, with whether it's the words we say to people, which is, no, you go first, or whatever you want, I want. Gosh, if you're happy, I'm happy, right? So those could be the language and the behaviors. There's also the feeling, which is we feel good when we're in alignment with that person and we're putting their needs first. When we put our own needs first, we feel uncertain and maybe even ashamed or embarrassed, or we feel like we're being a bad person. And then there's also the brain aspect of being a people pleaser. So the brain aspect is that when we're taught anything as small children, that there's danger associated with X, right? So in this case, there's a problem, there's danger, and that is a nervous system. You're not safe in the world. The stress response now is activated, that limbic brain, right? So now if you're doing something that's in your own interest as a separate person with separate needs, it's been paired with that danger signaling. So you're going to feel anxious, you're going to feel shame, you're going to feel like I'm bad, doing something wrong, or you're going to kind of collapse, feel powerless, right? All those feeling states which have a limbic brain, which is a part of the brain we don't control. It's our survival brain. It's our stay away from danger at any cost brain. That brain is activated when we're in relationship, and if we want to separate from other and be separate from them, that fear response, that danger response gets activated. And so that's why it's really hard for us to change this. So one of the first things we want to do is we want to have compassion for ourselves, right? I'm sure all of you are like, why can't I change this? I keep saying I'm going to change this. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to create boundaries. And then, whoops, I didn't do it again. And that's because that limbic brain is like, ooh, it's dangerous if you're your own separate person, you have your own separate needs and expression. So it tries to do everything to get you to not be out of alignment with that other person. So understanding is a very important first step. Allows us to have compassion and allows us to know that when that bad feeling arises, when we start to take care of ourselves, we understand why. It's because my limbic brain is thinking I'm in danger whenever I express my own needs that are separate. Another really important thing to do is to just build awareness of like, who are the people that I can be separate from and I feel fine, and who are the people that I just feel like I constantly have to be aware of what they need and responsive to them, and understanding who are the triggers. So then the next part is really about building that awareness and then practicing in low stakes environments. So low stakes relationships that don't reactivate that limbic brain so much are the ones to start practicing saying no, expressing a preference, saying something that signals that we're separate people. Well, gosh, I didn't like the movie, even though you did, right? The little things you can start to do to practice where you feel like you're not going to feel as threatened or like you're doing something super scary. And then we can build up to doing higher impact relationships and taking those risks and making those changes. So if you find that you can't get yourself to separate and express yourself and your own needs, either you're falling into that limbic brain kind of freeze response and you just collapse and kind of stop talking and are quiet, or you kind of get nervous and anxious and that makes it so you can't express yourself. If you find you can't make progress on this, this is when I want you to think about bringing in neurofeedback as a support. So neurofeedback is brain training, and it allows that limbic brain to get real-time feedback over and over again to see that it's not in danger. So therefore, it doesn't have to do those extremes of that collapse energy of not talking, feeling powerless, not moving forward, or that hyperarousal, anxious brain that's just like ruminating and kind of fleeing in our minds, right? Which also prevents us from taking action. So it helps those two reactive parts of the stress cycle, the fight, flight, freeze response, to calm down and to energize if you're in that limbic stuck place, so that you can then be emotionally regulated so you can take action on the steps that you create for yourself to practice. So what we're doing is we're calming down that limbic brain. We're letting the prefrontal cortex be in charge, which is our thoughtful planner part of our brain. And so therefore we actually create the conditions through this training to then be able to execute on our wishes, which is to be self-expressive, to share our thoughts and feelings, our needs, and to do so knowing that it's okay. It's a safe thing to do. We can be calm about that. We can be open. It allows us to have more self-acceptance and more compassion when we're in that state of regulation. So please don't give up on yourself. Do not give yourself a hard time. It's baby steps along the way. So please, if you're interested in learning more, subscribe, because we're always publishing new videos to help support you on your journey.